What's up, guys? I'm DK, and you're watching Pro Wrestling What If, the series where I look at the different what if scenarios as terms of the world that we call professional wrestling. Since the inception of the Money in the Bank ladder match in 2005, 82% of people have successfully cashed in the briefcase and won a title, but today's focus is actually on the 18% who have actually failed on cashing in. One of you guys actually suggested today's topic, which is talking about all of the failed Money in the Bank cash-ins, and if each person who did end up failing the Money in the Bank cash-in actually successfully cashing in, making the Money in the Bank contract a 100% success rate. And if you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share this to all your friends, subscribe, and press the notification bell for when future episodes get released, and leave a comment down below about today's topic or suggesting a future topic for an episode of Pro Wrestling What If. So as of the recording of this video, there are going to be 7 superstars that we are going to be talking about, actually all males today, who have failed cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase, and we're going to be talking about a scenario in which they could cash in and actually successfully win the championship of their choice. So the first one we got to talk about is from the year 2007, and of course it's the biggest Money in the Bank what if, being Mr. Kennedy, in which, if you know about this scenario, you know exactly what had happened, where in the place that we saw Edge actually cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase on SmackDown against The Undertaker, that is exactly when Mr. Kennedy was scheduled to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase before ending up being injured on a house show, which, due to this injury, it led to the angle of Mr. Kennedy defending the Money in the Bank briefcase in a match against Edge on Monday Night Raw, which would see him lose the briefcase to Edge. And of course, that following episode of Friday Night SmackDown is where we've seen Edge successfully cash in and become the World Heavyweight Champion. Now, of course, technically this isn't really a failed cash in because Mr. Kennedy never actually got a chance to cash in the briefcase, but it is a failed cash in at the same time because he actually never cashed in the briefcase. So I am classifying it as a failed cash in. And if you want to know my opinion about how long Mr. Kennedy would be the World Heavyweight Champion after cashing in, last week's episode was literally all about what if Mr. Kennedy cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase, so you guys definitely should check out that full episode. Now we fast forward to the year 2012, where the Money in the Bank winner was John Cena. Now, John Cena, being the big baby face that he is, actually did the pre-announced Money in the Bank cash-in, where he had challenged CM Punk to a match for the WWE Championship on an episode of Monday Night Raw in July of 2012, Raw 1000, for its 1000th episode, in which, in this match, as John Cena was applying the STF on CM Punk, Big Show had made an interference which made John Cena win the match, but only due to a disqualification. So on paper, this technically is the first official Money in the Bank failed cash-in. However, it wasn't done cleanly, as John Cena did win the match via disqualification, like I said, but because of a disqualification being the reason, John Cena couldn't walk out as the WWE Champion. But looking at a world where John Cena actually successfully defeated CM Punk and won the WWE Championship, I think the reason that this would happen is if they actually went with the John Cena heel turn that was originally proposed. John Cena has mentioned on several interviews about WWE possibly turning John Cena heel after losing to The Rock back at WrestleMania 28 in 2012. And I think if they would have actually went with that idea of John Cena turning heel, that this would have been the perfect time to do so, since CM Punk was literally neck and neck with John Cena as the top babyface of the WWE, that I think if even WWE had faith in CM Punk, that they should have turned John Cena heel at this particular point and won the title. Of course, this would also mean that CM Punk would not have that 434-day WWE Championship reign, but for John Cena, this would probably lead to him holding the title at least a year, where I kind of still see the scenario of twice in a lifetime with him and The Rock, and the way that The Rock would get to that championship match is with him taking the place of John Cena by winning the 2013 Royal Rumble match and then challenging John Cena to a match at WrestleMania, where then we would still see John Cena, in this case, defeat The Rock for the WWE Championship, which this time around it's retaining the championship, and I could see John Cena actually holding this title until when he actually dropped it in the real timeline to Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam 2013, and then it could be WWE's decision afterwards to where maybe John Cena can once again return to being a babyface afterwards. Next up is the following year in 2013, where it was Damian Sandow. After Damian Sandow teased a cash-in on an episode of Raw in 2013, he had attacked John Cena and would later cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. The two competitors would have a full-on match, but it would be John Cena who successfully retained the championship, thus making Damian Sandow the actual first failed Money in the Bank cash-in due to either pinfall or submission. And I know that this disappointed a lot of people, seeing Damian Sandow, who is such an entertaining heel, actually not win the World Heavyweight Championship. But I think the best scenario to where we could see a successful cash-in for Damian Sandow is to actually cash in at Survivor Series that year in 2013 during the match between Alberto Del Rio and John Cena for the World Heavyweight Championship, where near the end of the match, Damian Sandow could cash in mid-match and pin Alberto Del Rio to actually win the World Heavyweight Championship, so that way you don't have a Money in the Bank cash-in win on your top guy in John Cena, and afterwards, Damian Sandow most likely probably would have only held that title for one night, as he probably would have dropped it back to John Cena, so that John Cena could set up that match with Randy Orton to unify both the WWE and World Heavyweight Championship titles at the TLC pay-per-view. So unfortunately for Sandow, it still would be a very, very short reign, but at least this is probably the best scenario possible of him actually successfully cashing in and becoming at least a one-time World Heavyweight Champion. The next failed cash-in came in 2017 by the hands of Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin would end up cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase in the middle of a match between John Cena and Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship on an episode of SmackDown leading up to SummerSlam that year. And as the bell would ring for the match to officially become a triple threat match, Baron Corbin would knock John Cena off of the apron, and Jinder Mahal would roll up Baron Corbin to a pinfall victory, thus making Baron Corbin a failed cash-in attempt. Which this was kind of difficult to come up with a way to succeed Baron Corbin, because Baron Corbin was easily one of the first people that I automatically knew this was destined to be a failed cash-in. And I think the more likely scenario would possibly be is that after AJ Styles competes in the 2-on-1 handicap match against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble in 2018, right after the match is when I would see Baron Corbin actually cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase and successfully win the WWE Championship. However, this reign would also be a very short reign, not as short as Damian Sandow, but I could actually see Baron Corbin dropping the WWE Championship in the six-pack challenge that he actually was in the real timeline at Fastlane, so that we do end up getting the match set up between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania 34. At one point, I thought maybe after the match between AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar, but I felt that having AJ Styles only hold that title for like 3 weeks just didn't make sense to me, and I immediately thought that maybe after when Shinsuke Nakamura gives AJ Styles the low blow at WrestleMania 34, then Baron could technically cash in, but I feel like if Baron Corbin's gonna cash in, he's not gonna be one of those ones that could possibly cash in at WrestleMania, so I feel like this Royal Rumble idea is the best scenario for him. Now moving on, 1 year later in 2018, the winner was Braun Strowman. Now, Braun Strowman actually had a pre-announced Money in the Bank cash-in, as he would challenge the newly crowned champ Roman Reigns to a match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view inside Hell in a Cell for the Universal Championship, a match that would also have Mick Foley as the special guest referee. However, with this match, it ended up ending in a no contest thanks to interference from a returning beast, Brock Lesnar. One of the more mind-boggling decisions that WWE has done in terms to a cash-in. I definitely thought that even though Braun Strowman kind of didn't make sense to win the briefcase, that at least I kind of figured he would win the championship of his choosing. So a scenario where I could see Braun Strowman cash in and succeed in winning the championship of his choice is actually at the Crown Jewel event against Brock Lesnar, where we did see both of them face off for the vacant championship since Roman Reigns did vacate it due to him announcing that he had been diagnosed with leukemia. But I think had Braun Strowman maybe even not challenged Roman Reigns at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, that they could have determined Brock Lesnar as one of the competitors and then have Braun Strowman once again announce a pre-announced cash-in, making the match official on, let's say, a Monday Night Raw or something to lead up to Crown Jewel, where maybe in that case we do see Braun Strowman defeating Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia and then only having the title for maybe a couple of months where he drops it to Brock Lesnar, so that we do still see Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 35. The next failed cash-in happened in 2020 as the winner of the Money in the Bank that year was Otis, one of the more questionable choices to win a Money in the Bank briefcase. And this was also difficult because although it was kind of but not really entertaining at the same time, seeing Otis be Mr. Money in the Bank and even having like the lunchbox as his briefcase at one point, this all happening during kind of a dark time in WWE when it was the pandemic era of professional wrestling. And honestly, the only scenario that I can actually think of for Otis to actually succeed in cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase would be exactly the way that the person he did drop the briefcase to, The Miz, ended up doing, and that is cashing in after the Elimination Chamber match on Drew McIntyre, only to drop it either the following Raw or the Raw after to Bobby Lashley. There's just no way that even if Otis were to become the WWE champion, which I feel like that's his only choice since at this time Roman Reigns had already won the Universal Championship and began his 1300 plus day reign, that I feel like he was only meant to be a transitional champion, and that it was a way, just like for The Miz, to pass it from Drew McIntyre to Bobby Lashley without having Bobby Lashley actually pin Drew McIntyre. And then we would still get Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. And then the last one we're going to be talking about happened in 2022. The winner was, of course, Austin Theory. Austin Theory would cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase on the November 7th, 2022 edition of Monday Night Raw. However, he actually went the route of cashing it in on the United States Championship instead of cashing it in on either one of the World Championships, which he would end up failing to do so. My only scenario that I can come up with as terms to how Austin Theory could successfully cash in is that if he actually were able to successfully cash in that same match that he had failed to cash in. I think it would have been really important if Austin Theory had not only cashed in but successfully won the United States title using that, because then maybe the Money in the Bank briefcase after all might not only be used for the World Championships but to also go after the mid-card championship and elevate those titles even more. But it's just kind of mind-boggling that the first time that you attempt this is a failed cash-in instead of making it kind of a reality. Of course, at this point, there's just no way that Austin Theory was cashing in on Roman Reigns, who had both the WWE and Universal Championships to unify the titles. But if you were just going to do a failed cash-in with Austin Theory, you should have at least cashed it in on Roman Reigns, because at least he would have attempted to, instead of trying this new idea of cashing it in on one of the mid-card titles and making him fail to do so. Because I feel like there's just no way for WWE to actually kind of redeem themselves from this and make that an actual possibility in the near future.